Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Jazz Tales. Today I'm very pleased to have the great saxophonist Bruce Swaim with us. I've known Bruce for a long time, and I just think he's one of the best, if not the best, in the Washington, D.C., heck, the United States, as far as I'm concerned. Just a really nice guy. Well, I'm lucky to call him a friend. Bruce attended the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and he majored in saxophone and studied under the acclaimed saxophonist James Hulick. Became a full-time musician in the 70s and moved to the Washington, D.C. area in 1981, where he quickly became a great working musician and played with a lot of great musicians, not only in the Washington, D.C. area, but anybody that came through town. The list includes Keter Betts, Gatton, Rosemary Clooney, Martha Reeves, Millie Jackson, The Spinners, Michael Feinstein, Houston Person, The Four Tops, The Temptations, Carl Allen, Dick Morgan, and Ronnie Wells. He's been on many pop, jazz, and blues recordings and many TV soundtracks and jingles. He also writes great music and arranges. If you need horns on your next record, he's the guy to call. Some of the venues that he's played, including BET Jazz Central, back when it used to be in D.C. Boy, I miss that place. The Kennedy Center, Blues Alley, Wolf Trap, DAR Constitution Hall, Strathmore, the Ram's Head, the Warner Theater, the White House, and Lincoln Center in New York City. And the Washington Area Music Association, for many years, they're unfortunately no longer in existence, but when they were, they had the Washington area equivalent to the Grammys, and they called them the Whammy Awards. He has 2 Whammy Awards as the Jazz Instrumentalist of the Year, and his quartet has recorded 4 albums, 2 of which won the WAMA Award for Jazz Recording of the Year. Would you please welcome the great Bruce Swaim. Bruce, thanks so much for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
I appreciate you saying yes to coming over here and doing this with us.
Well, I appreciate you asking me.
My pleasure. So let's get started with a tune. You know, I forget who wrote this. I had this for a while. I was letting everybody know that when and all that, and I forget this one. This is called Sweet and Lovely. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah, Fred.
Yeah. Wow. Great to play with you again.
Likewise.
Yeah. I think the last one would have been either January or February.
BC.
Yes. Right. Well, you've seen some of the shows, so you know the way this works. I say hi to some people here. So I'd like to say hi to Lou and Janet up in Nutley, New Jersey. Fred and Bruce have a great show, they say. Laurie and Steve up in Easton, Pennsylvania. Hi, Fred and Bruce. Annetta and David in Montville, New Jersey. Good evening, Fred and Bruce. And Ed Reffeld. Ed, you would know from Westminster. Hi, Bruce and Fred. I've had the pleasure of hearing Bruce perform in the D.C. area. I bought my jazz and blues meetup group to see him in those wonderful pre-COVID days of yore and hope to again. Yes. Yeah. Ed, thank you so much for being here. Tom, Bob, awesome job, you guys. Killed it. Thank you. And we're going to continue now with a tune by Horace Silver. This is called Gregory is Here.
Yeah, man.
Bruce. Wow. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. You both compliment each other so well. That's coming from Lou. Lou's our vice president as well.
You
So
look very nice, Fred.
see what you did there? See what you did? Lou, see what you did? Ed, man, Bruce's tone is as smooth as the scotch I'm drinking.
Okay.
We'll be right over, Ed.
Okay.
So next is Stella by Starlight. Because we can, I would like to take it up tempo because I know, we can. But is there any particular reason other than it's a standard that we play a lot? I mean, a lot of times I feel that when I call the tune, not everybody wants to play it. I love playing this tune. It's a lot of fun. Any thoughts on?
Well, that's one of those tunes that I never get tired of either. I mean, there's so much happening in it. And even if you have students, there's a lot of educational opportunities because there's a lot of examples of different harmonic progressions and different harmonies. But I think it's a beautiful tune, and I've never gotten tired of it either.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Great. Here we go. Stella by Starlight. See, like I said, because we can. Steve says, fantastic guys, love the exchanges. Fred, you're killing it on the keys, says Ed. Thank you so much, folks. Appreciate it. Love the interaction. Thank you so much. So, those of you that know, every time my very first question of our artists, because of our mission here at Jazz Alive of the continuation and preservation of America's indigenous art form, and bringing this music to our young folks. I always want to know what happened in early on in our artists that visit us, their careers, that had them going, yeah, I have to play music. And was there one thing that happened? Were there numerous things that happened? Tell us about it. What as these folks that are listening, the younger folks, is sometimes they might go, well, yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way, and then you walk into it. So, what was that one thing or many things that made you say music, and in particular jazz?
Well, I just recall getting more and more drawn to music in general. Probably in I guess back in the day we called it junior high school, 7th through 9th grade. Mm-hmm. During that time period, I found myself getting more and more drawn to, I was initially drawn to, just some of the rock and roll of the time, and then really got interested in blues and R&B
right
of the time and before. And I think the first time I really became aware of jazz, oddly enough, I think I was in a stereo shop down in Greensboro, North Carolina. And they were playing some jazz record on this fabulous sounding stereo. And I was like, whoa, that sounds great. So I started buying some jazz records. And I think the first jazz record I bought was a Charlie Parker record. And of course, I had no idea what he was doing. But I was thinking, man, that's what I want. I want to sound like that. Because I was already playing saxophone at that point. I was thinking, if I could ever sound like that, my life would be complete. Not realizing that that's impossible. But then, it kind of was in a vacuum down there because it was in the middle of Winston-Salem and Greensboro, right in the middle of the state, and not a lot of live jazz happening down there. So kind of developed in a vacuum buying records and just sort of caught the bug inexplicably. It just really spoke to me. So, and the blues and R&B still do every bit as much.
Right, sure.
And I think they're kind of intertwined. But that's kind of where it started. And then by the time I hit high school, much to my parents' chagrin, I was really getting into it, and that's kind of all I wanted to do.
Right. I think that's kind of most of the folks that come through this door here. I mean, everybody, it all seems to be that same thing. We all have our passion in a different way, but it's like, you just don't know anything else. In my case, I started on organ. So I'd wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and start practicing the organ. So, I mean, it was even louder than a piano, But I didn't know anything else, just like you. Yeah. All right, well, we're going to play another tune. This is another horse tune, Peace. Anything about this tune that it was on your list? So it's just one of those beautiful tunes you like playing, or is there a specific recording or anything that?
Well, it's a nice sentiment for right now.
No kidding. I guess that's all that needs to be
We
said.
can go to our peace place.
Yes. Yes. Here are Peace by Horace Silver. Great choice.
Another beautiful tune I never get tired of.
Yeah, no kidding. So continuing with our Horace Silver theme here, we're going to do, Steven says, fantastic guys, love the exchanges. David says, soulful, expressive playing by both of you, loved it. Thank you, folks. Thank you. We're going to continue with our Horace Silver medley here and play Silver's Serenade. Another great tune. I mean, I don't play this one hardly ever. Yeah, here we go. Nice call, Bruce. Yeah. I'm hoping that my microphones are picking up when he plays that low note. For me over here at the piano, with the overtones that I've got here, that's such a cool, from where I sit, it's a cool sound. Yeah. So the next tune is one of yours, Baby. Would you tell us about it?
Well, I wrote this for my baby, and I'm calling it Baby. That's pretty much it.
Okay then. Right. So much for an interesting story, right? We'll catch up here. There's some really nice comments here. Wonderful. Great way to spend a Wednesday evening. Thank you, Lou and Janet. Robert, this is world class. Wonderful. Thank you, Robert. You're new. I saw your name today come up on when you purchased. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Welcome to the party. Hope you'll continue to be a part of the party. Rena and Mike up in Newmanstown, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much. Better late than not. Hello, yes. Good to see you. But you got a drink there. That's good. Ed, thank you so much. Steve, yes, the tones are great. Well, thank you. Good. I'm glad you like them. So here's Baby by Bruce.
If I may,
Certainly.
real quick, that's actually on the third album by the Bruce Swaim Quartet.
There we go.
Little plug.
There we go. BruceSwaim.com, yes?
Yep.
All right. So the next question that I have for you is about mentors. Again, we're geared towards talking to our young folks about how we got involved in this very specific American music. I mean, it's the history of the music is word of mouth and lots of folks kicking your butt on a bandstand somewhere. I know that's how I started. So was there a person or a group of people that were mentors that really said, here's how you're going to do this?
Well, I would have to say I can't really point to any specific mentor or mentors, or maybe I can point to a whole bunch, either way. I know when I was still living in Greensboro going to school in my youth, I hooked up with a group of very creative and eclectic people in Greensboro that I was in a band with, and they were a bit older, and they kind of shaped a lot of my aesthetic as far as music, because they were into so many different things, and it was all really hip. And then I guess I moved to D.C., and my intro into the D.C. scene was, I don't know if you remember a pianist, Lawrence Wheatley.
Oh, yeah.
Because he played
One
Saturday
Step
and Sunday
Down.
afternoons at the One Step Down, and I actually did that gig with him for maybe 6 months or so.
Oh, my.
Right after I moved here, and that was kind of my entree to the DC scene. Played with him a lot there and other places, and I guess later on, a lot of people that I played with guitarist Danny Gatton. He exposed me to a lot of things, and I learned a lot from listening to him play and seeing what he was into, and he turned me on to some other sax players that I wasn't really aware of. And then I guess later on I also did a fair amount of playing in D.C. with Keter Betts, and he was a bit of history.
Sure.
And I learned a lot from him just from listening to him play and listening to him talk and listening to how he did things. And I guess, well, just like most players, I mean, I took something from pretty much any great player that I played with, including you, Fred. We all, I guess, kind of learn things from people that we play with. So
Sure.
I can't really identify any actual mentors, but I can identify a lot that you might be able to call that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've since the very first time I played with you, just the way you construct your lines, every time I hear something new about the way you compose on the spot that is uniquely you, and the way that you arrive at that is very interesting to me. And every time, like you said, it's a learning experience. So I do want to ask about Danny Gatton. For those of you that don't know, Danny was a phenomenal guitar player. I mean, he was a freak as far as I'm concerned in how he could get around the guitar. It was just amazing. I would imagine that it was intimidating being a sax player, because sax players, think and can execute quite fiery lines. And here's this guy that I can't imagine trading fours with him. Must have been.
Well, I mean, my role was not to try to match what he did. I was comic relief between guitar solos. But no, that was a great experience because he was definitely one of a kind.
Yes.
And he was a very generous guy, and he exposed me to some music that I had not really paid attention to a lot before, and he definitely was a unique player. And, every night was an adventure.
Right.
And the first time I met him, our friend John Previty introduced me to him. I had just been in town for a couple of years, and he said, there's a guitar player I know. We got a gig down at the Gentry on Capitol Hill. Why don't you come in and sit in? So I went and sat in, and when I walked in the door, he was playing his Telecaster through a Leslie cabinet. And it was just this... I had never heard anything like it in my life. I just walked in just going, holy mackerel.
Wow.
So I sat in, and then he asked me if I wanted to do the gig, and I said, yeah.
Wow.
So that was a good, I guess you could consider him a mentor, I guess, to a certain extent.
What a great gig. What a great gig. I mean,
Played
there's
with
still,
him through most of the 80s, I guess.
wow, wow. Occasionally, you know, you don't hear him as often on the radio as certainly when I first came to town. But on Sundays on the way to a brunch gig, I'll hear Tom Cole on Sunday mornings playing his stuff. And every
He's a
time
big
I
fan.
hear, you know, as soon as you hear him hear a tune, if you haven't heard him announce it, you know it's Danny. I mean,
Yeah.
what a unique sound and ideas and all of that. Just wow.
Well, it comes to musical charisma. I think all of the great players that we admire, the thing that sets them apart is, I guess I just call it musical charisma. I mean, a million guys have the technique, but it's the ones that really have something to say with it is what sets them apart.
I'm stealing that. That's
Oh,
a
okay.
great. That's a great line. Yeah, no, that's very apropos for this music. Yeah, that's a great line. Great line. Well, next we're going to play another of your tunes. This one's called Blue. Is there a story behind this one?
Well, I was kind of blue when I wrote it. This is one of the first tunes I wrote, actually.
Really?
Way back in the day. It's kind of a minor tune. It's just kind of a blue feel,
Okay.
kind of atmospheric music.
Okay. I have several titled that way myself.
Yeah.
Blue by Bruce Swaim. Great tune, Bruce.
If I may, that's on the first album by the Bruce Swaim Quartet.
There we go. First album. Yes. So I've been such enjoying my conversation with Bruce here that I'm forgetting some people that we need to thank. First of all, we'd like to thank the following sponsors of this evening's show. Netta and David Argona, Lori Winnick and Steve Aragona, and Complete Logistics Support Incorporated. Carla and John Ferrari are the owners. Thank you so much, folks, for supporting us and sponsoring this evening's show. We really appreciate the support. And if you'd like to know about sponsoring not only a show, but a student, you can go to our website at jazz-alive.org and find out more about sponsoring either a show or a student. Next is a tune I asked to play because I just love the way Bruce plays ballads. And this is one of my favorite ballads. This is called Easy Living. Beautiful, Bruce. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to introduce you to some of the students here, and that'll lead us into the last question that I have for you. So we have with us tonight, sponsored by Janet and Lou Russo in Nutley, New Jersey, Max Lensick, a baritone sax player from Nutley, New Jersey, who's in the Nutley High School Jazz and Wind Ensemble. Thank you, Janet and Lou, for sponsoring Max. And Netta and David Aragona of Montville, New Jersey, have sponsored Thomas Sobieski. I think that's who Tom Bob was earlier. Thomas, thank you for signing in, and I hope you're enjoying the show, Max and Thomas. Both of Nutley High School. Thomas is an alto sax player, and he's in the Wind Ensemble, Jazz Ensemble, and Marching Band at Nutley High School. And we also have John and... that doesn't want to come up tonight, I'm sorry. John and Sherry Zimmerman. I'll put your picture up twice next week, John and Sherry. That doesn't want to seem to come up. They are sponsoring your student, who is Ian Van Nuys. Ian is going to Eastman School of Music. He's a saxophonist. So thank you, Sherry and John of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, for sponsoring him. So thank you so much, folks. And thank you for all your kind comments in here. So I want to ask Bruce, with these students that are here, including your student, and I'm sure he gets a lot from you, but this is a different setting here. Is there any advice as to, this business is crazy. I mean, we're trying to expose our young folks to this music, so hopefully they'll not only enjoy it, but want to play it and continue, so that when you and I aren't here any longer, it's not the end of this music. So that's part of our, but with the folks that are listening that might want to go into music, you've been really great at having the phone ring all the time. That doesn't happen by accident. So what's your secret?
Well, it would be very hard to give advice right now.
Yeah.
Because things have changed so much, and everything's basically at a standstill right now. If I were to give advice, it might be the obvious of just open yourself up to as many avenues as you possibly can. And obviously, if you're gonna pursue music, you're going to be highly motivated to be as good as you can be. So that's sort of a minimum thing. If you don't have that fire in your belly and you're not highly motivated to be the best you can be, then you should probably do something else. But as far as the business and getting ahead, everybody kind of carves their own path. And I guess the only thing I could say is keep your eyes open to all kinds of different avenues, and be open to anything. And, don't limit yourself to one narrow path that you think you might, if you're a purist on one thing you want to do. Because things can be learned from anything that you do. I mean, I learned a lot from playing in music that I hated. I learned a lot from things in the course of just making a living as a musician. I didn't sort of a lunch pail musician, as a lot of people say. I ended up doing a lot of gigs that were not my favorite kind of thing to do, but I always learned something from it and then was able to take something away.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. Just keep an open mind, be open to anything, be open to any avenue that you can think of.
That's great. And for me, I think that as a piano player, it is avenues of different styles of music. And you obviously mentioned that in the early part of the interview, and even mentioned playing with Danny and the different styles that he played with. But like right now, I'm working to play a concert of Appalachian Spring, and I hadn't played it for 25 years. And getting back into the technique and things that Copeland wrote on that is just kicking my butt. But it's great because it's informing in different styles of, years later playing it again. It's like, oh, wait a minute. That's where Chick gets some of those triad things that he's doing. Because, Copeland's doing that. It's just right in there. But it's great for technique and all kinds of different things. So, yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. Next, we were going to play How Deep is the Ocean by Irving Berlin. Wherever you want.
1, 2, 3.
Thanks again to our sponsors for this evening. We really appreciate them sponsoring the show. Thank you, Netta and David, Laurie and Steve, and Carla and John. Thank you so much for helping us out here with our mission. Again, folks, if you'd like to know more about what's happening with that, either send me a note off of our website, or you can go right to the sponsor page and everything's right there. Thank you so much, folks. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for asking me.
Oh man, it's so nice to play with you after,
Absolutely.
all this time. Thank you so much. We're going to close with a tune by Kenny Barron. This is called Voyage.
One, two, 3.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Fred.
I appreciate it. Folks, thank you so much. Next week, we have Sean Kesani. He's originally from Afghanistan, a wonderful player that I'm just so happy to have him here with us next week. So I hope that you'll join us again next week. Thank you so much. Have a safe and wonderful week. We'll see you next week.